Day 3 of NBA free agency is here, and we've got you covered with the latest NBA news and rumors, so subscribe here at Chat Sports. He's Will Scott. I am Harrison Graham. On today's show, we're going to break down the top remaining free agents in NBA free agency. A lot of names have come and gone, but there are some notable names that are still out there. And James Harden, Will, who is meeting with the Sixers brass today, according to Chris Haynes. Sounds like a 2, maybe a 3-year deal is going to happen there. He opted out of that $47 million player option, but as long as he's unsigned, we have to include him.
Right. I think he's going to get a 3-year deal somewhere around 70, 85 million, somewhere in that range. But it's going to be probably a team-friendly deal. Harden wants to take a pay cut, help the Sixers build around him and Joel Embiid.
Yeah, try to chase a championship there. DeAndre Ayton is also available, a restricted free agent. I think there's a pause on his future, Will, because he could easily be a part of a Kevin Durant sign-and trade between the Suns and the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's going to be interesting to see where he lands. The Utah Jazz have been connected to him. If they can, they have a bunch of draft picks now, so they could probably pull that off fairly easily. It's probably going to be a sign-and trade wherever Ayton lands.
It's not looking good for Miles Bridges as he was officially arrested for felony domestic violence on Thursday. His wife dropped pictures. If you haven't seen the report, feel free to go look it up. I think Will and I are in agreement here. A, one of the all-time bad decisions that just obviously just terrible things here. And B, I don't think he's playing this year. There is even a report that Charlotte might remove that qualifying offer, which would make him an unrestricted free agent.
Right, and this is just a horrific situation all the way around, and I don't think Miles Bridges is going to play basketball again for a very, very long time.
Thoughts to those impacted, obviously, as well. Collin Sexton is a restricted free agent. I think he's one of the more intriguing names left, Will, because there's conflicting reports on what his market is. I've seen $20 million. The latest report suggested $10 to $12 million. The Cavs just maxed out Darius Garland. I don't know where he ends up and for how much.
I think it's going to be Dallas. I think Dallas makes the most sense, I think he definitely deserves more than $10 to $12 million a year, considering some of these other deals that we're seeing.
No doubt about it. How wild has free agency been so far? Scale it from 1 to 10, 1 being not wild at all, 10 being pretty wild. I give it like an 8, man, or a 9. If Kevin Durant requests a trade and Rudy Gobert goes for 5 first-round picks, pretty busy free agency, even though technically those are in the trade category, but it's happened during free agency. Let us know. Pin comment on today's show. Scale it from 1 to 10. How wild has free agency been? T.J. Warren, as we kind of drop down a tier in caliber here, Will, who was dropping 50 pieces in the bubble a couple of years ago.
The legend.
Yes. T.J. Warren, Donovan Mitchell, and Jamal Murray, bubble legends with 50-point games. He's been hurt a lot the last 2 years. I think he can give you 15 points a game off the bench.
I agree. I think this is going to be a really solid pickup, and whoever gets him is probably going to be able to get him for pretty cheap. He's just played in 4 games the last 2 seasons because of foot injuries, did not play at all last year.
Dennis Schroeder, who I thought played pretty well for the Celtics, but fumbled the bag last offseason, turning down $84 million in the middle of the year from the Lakers, settled for 5.9 mid-level with Boston. Didn't play as much for Houston, Will, as you know. They obviously played a bunch of young guys, but I think as a 6-man type, he's still an excellent player.
Absolutely, yeah. He was really good in Boston, put up 14 points per game, was surprisingly traded to Houston middle of the season, averaged 11 points a game in Houston. He's definitely not going back to the Rockets, I can tell you that much, because they want to build around some of those younger guys, get those guys some playing time. So, yeah, it's going to be a really solid guy off the bench, whoever lands him.
Be sure to hit that subscribe button for the latest NBA news, rumors, free agency coverage, trades. There's been a lot already, plus some mailbags. We'll do some NBA Q&As throughout the offseason as well. YouTube.com/chatsportstv. We're your home of the NBA here on digital platforms. All right, Montrezl Harrell, who good year last year, 13-6 for the Hornets, mostly coming off the bench here. If you have the right playmaking guard with him on your second unit, he can be a very impactful player for a team still.
He's so underrated, and I hope this guy gets paid because he deserves to get maybe a little bit more than teams are probably going to give him. He's been incredibly solid throughout his career. Look at what he did with the Clippers, 18.6 points per game, 2019-2020. Good with the Lakers, great with the Wizards, great with the Hornets. I hope this guy is able to get somewhat of a bag.
Exactly. Good energy guy, can finish around there. Now, he can't play defense, but He's coming off the bench. I mean, you're not going to have a superstar coming off the bench mostly. Goran Dragic, who's kind of just hanging out. I think there's a bit of a presumption that when it's all said and done, when the dust settles, he's going to team up with Luka Doncic in Dallas and play a bench role there, maybe for 1 or 2 years to round out his career. Certainly not the player he was, but still averaged 4 assists per game in limited action for Brooklyn last year.
Yeah, I think Dallas makes a lot of sense. They obviously need some point guard depth. He's pretty close with Luka, apparently, and I would predict that as well, that he ends up in Dallas.
Name a player that you want your favorite team to sign. There's still some notable names on the open market, so let us know who you want your favorite team to sign. How about Carmelo Anthony, Will? Look, the guy was almost exiled out of the league. He kind of gets back into shape. The effort increases. He's gotten a better three-point shot later in his career. The defensive intensity has ramped up. I think coming off the bench for a team, he can still contribute.
He put up 13 a game in Los Angeles, was really good in Portland as well. I'm really happy this guy has stuck around in the league after that very short stint in Houston. I think New York would be a lot of fun.
Run it back.
And it might make some sense.
Let's go, Melo. Jeremy Lamb, not to be confused with Jeremy Lin. How about Lin and Melo back to the Knicks? I think Jeremy Lin's done, all jokes aside. Jeremy Lamb, who's never really lived up to the billing of the type of player he was at UConn. A couple years ago, played pretty well. Wasn't as good last year for Sacramento. Certainly still expect him to land at some point. Who is the best player that is still unsigned in free agency? I think technically you got to say James Harden until he signs, but DeAndre Ayton is still floating out there as well. Let us know what you guys think down in the comments. A couple more guys here, Will. Thomas Bryant, who's been linked to the Celtics and the Lakers, could be a good backup center for a team.
Absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see what he gets. I think whatever contract he signs will fit into a team's mid-level exception, but because of injury issues, he just hasn't been the same player we saw the first couple of years of his career. If you remember, man, this guy was putting up a lot of points in Washington a few years back.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So Thomas Bryant still hanging out there, so we'll see if he gets picked up. Dwight Howard is another name that still remains unsigned. Didn't have quite the impact he had for the Lakers this past year that he did for the team that won the championship in the bubble, but again, if you need a backup center that can rebound and score around the glass and block an occasional shot, he's still a decent player at this point.
Absolutely, I agree. I love Dwight. Had a chance to interview him a few years ago, actually.
Oh.
So, yeah, I like Dwight. I hope he ends up on a contender. I'd love to see him win another ring.
One more big here, Hassan Whiteside, who played pretty well for the Jazz last year. If I'm Utah, I might bring him back after trading Rudy Gobert. I think if he gets more minutes, he could be a double-double guy still. When he's engaged, he's an impactful player. Obviously, effort and attitude concerns in the past have been a problem.
Yeah, he was so good in Miami. It's been kind of wild to see the drop-off for him, but I think it makes a lot of sense for Utah to bring him back.
Like the video if you're ready for more free agency news and rumors to drop. All you got to do is hit that thumbs up icon.